And I would love to talk with you about what you've experienced as far as manifesting is concerned, manifesting your thoughts, realities, how they are impacted by the degree of your purity of coherency.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think part of what we're also talking about is, knowing that the quantum field is a responsive, and that's what you're saying about the all-seeing eye also, is to say the universal intelligence that's governing the superstructure of consciousness itself, and that fractals down all the way down to us as that little finger of the body of God that is waking itself up also, and has these principles that maybe we're going to call karma, but we could also say the influencers that, like you said, steer us, pleasure and pain principle, they keep steering us. I love what you're saying about religion too, and how, organized religion is getting us into the ethics of the first three chakras. It hopefully brings us to the heart, but it, for most people, doesn't get us anywhere higher than the heart. And that's already powerful. If we can, enhance those virtues and get out of our animal body, amazing.
Yes.
Good start. But when we start to awaken into the principle and we start to interact with it, and we go, this is an interface. This is not just God has created us and, now we're kind of at the mercy and let's have our ethics so we at least do good, so we're in favor with something. We take that and we go to the next level and we say, this individuation that I am is a creator God, is a spark from that intelligence. The divine blueprint made us in the image. We know that those words were made in the image of the likeness of God. And so we have those capacities. We start to touch into them and we'll feel, like you said, I think, like there's a vortex, and we can start to create that vortex, and it generates synchronicity. It actually generates our wishes. And what happens is we move out of the subconscious or the unconscious versions of, well, we create our reality no matter what.
We do.
We're just usually unconscious of it, and sometimes we get what we order, but it's not what we thought we wanted.
Right. We weren't always aware of the iceberg below that surface, all was packed in there. Yep.
That's right. And so the beauty of refining our consciousness is we get clearer and clearer what we really want for. And that, again, is about us starting to generate a more pure version of who we want to be and how we want to be living in this world. And so God answers, in a sense, that universal intelligence answers and goes, oh, wow, you would like to benefit for the highest good, all beings, because you're wanting to increase your level of consciousness? Well, I'm going to synchronize more experience that starts to spin that vortex of creation for you, because you're benefiting something more than the self. Right. And I think that's, again, why the principles of selflessness have a very real impact on how much we can create, because we start to generate more impact for the whole, and God answers that.
And yeah, I love what you say. I could just, of course, I love every word you say, but I love how you describe that the increased frequency creates a vortexual field, which then, I like to say, creates a gravitational pull, and, like you said, creates synchronicities, because we actually start operating, instead of at this level of time-space, at a superseding level of time-space, because we're closer to where Omega and the Alpha and Omega come together in our ascension. And so we embrace more of eternity, more of the beginning and past in our width and breadth of our soul vortex. So we know things in advance. We know things more from the past. The faster we vibrate, we encompass more eternity. I would say a greater portion of eternity. And with that spin comes an incredible if we were to put it in terms of time space, an attracting gravitational force, which then, and I would just like to warn everybody, it's a metaphor. It's simply a metaphor. We can put it equally into spinning yourself into an parallel dimension of a potential that is coexisting right now at a higher frequency bandwidth than you're right now. Like you have different versions of yourself and potentials. Let's just say stack them above each other. And you can say you either pop yourself into a higher frequency, which comes complete with these and these stories and capacities. Or if we drop down, then we are smaller in our breadth and width. Things are slower. We bump more in the walls. And of course, we only reach as far as then that width and breadth of our focus is. But we're using our linear mind, our 3D mind, to give metaphors of how something multidimensional functions. So, of course, that is understood, and all the words could never, ever give the sucor of the experience of touching the face of God, no matter how we try. But while you and I are talking, I know you are a conduit of presence and consciousness, as am I. And as we talk, I would like everyone to tune into the field of that which is beyond, which we ignite as we speak together simultaneously, not in a verbal way, but in a nonverbal way, so that that part of you gets ignited and gets to understand that which is understandable only beyond normal levels of time-space, outside of the dualistic mindset of language and words. So I invite you to travel with us on this journey as we keep exploring some of these most fundamental questions of what is consciousness, what is source, what is soul, and what's our purpose in getting in touch with God or the divine part within us. So, Amoraea, when you say, and I would like to reprise that again, that question, what's your experience when you've said, okay, God, I want to manifest this? Or how is your co-creation with the divine? Do you ever find that God stares you back in the face and asks you, what do you want?
Yeah, I feel like that was part of what my day was about, actually. As I increased my own awareness, as I turned on the presence of my gratitude, as I started to see light all around me, I noticed, number one, everything got more clear. Everything seemed to have more connectivity. It's almost like the quality of the electromagnetic field starting to heighten with me. And there was more and more brilliance. And so I was getting what I had asked for today. I was really deeply praying for this opening back in, because I was going through quite a process. The last few days has been more challenging. I've had some senses of my energies dulled. And so there was something about my conviction today, which means like my energetic magnetism to say, I know what I want right now. I want to connect with the light of my soul. I want to increase my capacity to register the light as well as feedback with it. Because what I realized over the last few days was I was not in touch with my creation consciousness, and part of that is actually having purpose of giving back into creation. So when I'm only feeling the one-way direction of like, I just need to receive right now, I need to feel myself, I'm not in touch with the
divine,
with the feedback loop of the emanation of my enlightened energy, my gratitude, my prayers, the beauty of just being and feeling actually is a resource for creation. And so it became this feedback loop that just got more and more brilliant. And it's almost like the sun began to shine more. The clouds literally parted. I started dancing with creation more. I literally, the the waves and the wind and the rocks I started to sing to, I danced to, there was this sense of communion. And so that is just, that's a more general level that I'm talking about. But
Yep.
it speaks to how when we start to synchronize with life interacts with us more.
Let's recall one of the stories that we both experienced that I recounted in the book, Dolphins, Love, and Destiny. Precisely when you and I were on Maui, we were going to go to Lanai, to an island to swim with dolphins. And that was an island away from the island of Maui. And we were headed over to the port, and we had to realize that the black clouds of a super thunderstorm were moving in towards us and had already engulfed the place where we wanted to go. And remember, we stopped and we looked out over the ocean at the railing. There was the side of the road. Remember, we were standing there. We looked out and we was like, where do we go? It was black all over. So here's, I'm going to just keep describing it. You know full well where this is going. So the story ends in that we both closed our eyes. Actually, the story begins by us closing our eyes and going inward and saying, where is it the way we would like it to be? Where is that heaven on earth where we see the sunlight? Where are we blessed with that beauty, that brilliance of the nature cooperating with us? And we were baffled at it not happening at the time. Yeah. And I remember you said, okay, I think both of us got it, but you said it, I think we need to go back in the other direction and go to that. And I think wasn't it called Shambhala as well on Maui, that retreat center that's by that waterfall?
I know the one you mean. I'm not sure if it's called Shambhala or what it's called.
So it's a retreat center. You knew the way. We went to Paia and then north of there, I believe. Yeah. And we parked our car, we got out, you knew the way to go to this waterfall, and we sat on this cliff where we had a waterfall above us and a waterfall cascading down, and then the ocean in front of us. And we got naked and we sat in the sunshine that then engulfed us like a circle of blue sunlight on top of us. And we were literally in heaven on earth. And we went into these sublime states of meditation, of overlapping our crystalline soul matrices into singularity until we burst open into multidimensionality. But that's what you mean. We dance until creation dances with us.
Yeah. And it doesn't always look how we thought,
right.
But the feeling state is what actually generates the outpicturing, because it's, in the end, all humans really want is the feeling. They have a picture, and that picture guides them, directs them for as far as it needs to experience the feeling that they want out of that experience. Now, if that experience is not going to go the way that our soul really wants, we're going to create a different version of it, and that will still elicit a similar feeling. And that's all what we're learning to do. And that's part of the process of actually letting go of the form and letting God create a higher version than we can even imagine.
By going into the end state of the feeling that we want to receive from going into whatever creation we thought would bring us. So just to finish that story, remember when we came out of it and we went back to our car and we then talked with people, our car was in a puddle of water. The people said, it had been thunderstorming and the streets were knee-high filled with water. We never got a drop, and we were just 100, 200 yards away.
Yeah.
And what we had wanted was the celestial union of our souls, which we thought we were going to get around dolphins, but heck, we got it. And what was even more beautiful was the interaction between the matrix communicating with us, having the intuition to move to the right place, and then also starting to see a potential of a reality. We envisioned the capacity of sunshine ahead of time. Now, I dare to say that had we not envisioned it, I don't think we would have encountered it. It's the co-creative aspect of our expecting reality in a certain way that makes reality respond to our needs in a certain way. and fulfill the matrix of our co-creative dreaming. Like you said, we are made in the image of God. At one point, we become the co-creative agent of greater and greater realities. At first, we get the right parking lot, we get the right amount of money, the job, the home, the whatever is important to us. At later stages, we become the matrix of consciousness that then illuminates others around us and feeds back, in my book, the joy of love, why God even created itself. It's like it looks at itself, it looks at you, itself, through you, at me, and me through my eyes at you.
I love what you're saying, and I want to hear from you. If our purpose is to peer into God, does God actually, is God enjoying through us too? Is there an actual other aspect of this universal consciousness that has intention, that has will, that has desire, that, what is that part of God that is peering back, and why would God want to use us like that?
It is, we're entering realms of personal perception, and there is no arguing it. I will share my personal experience. I do experience at different stages of meditation God peering at me through what appears to be a single eye. And I, in meditation, guided meditations, have taught hundreds of people, even in large audiences, where there were 700 people, I remember one, getting them and guiding them into assembling their own soul essence into unity with another soul, into what you and I have practiced, the singularity of soul, that then catapults them into singularity with the greater whole. It becomes like the lens of God, or the where two are or more are meeting in one. There, the divine is amongst us fully, but it also becomes the doorway into that which is divine and communing back through itself. But when I encounter that, two things happen to me. One, it says, "What do you want?" In so many words. It's not really words, but it's like it wants my capacity to create conceptually within duality, to co-create new matrices, new expressions. I can hardly ever think of anything else other than to say, take me. I want only total surrender. I can't think of anything else. I have no personal need whatsoever. I try now sometimes to add in there a little bit. How about a little peace for everybody, or peace on earth, or enlightenment for everybody? But that takes a lot of, like, I have to remember. But it's opening to that. It asks. Now, that's your question. What is asking? Itself, in a way that is awakening to its vastness. What is that interaction between the singularity as the large and the singularity as the small? What is the purpose of awakening? And then what I get is, it's very personal. God is delighted at the offering that we are, through the matrix of the self, the love of it that we can offer to it is its reward. It's as incredibly gifting, as valuable to it as us, the love we seem to want to receive from the divine.
Beautiful.
Now,
Beautiful.
I would love to hear your description.
Well, as you were talking, it brought me to the nature of devotion itself, and how, most religions are founded on the idea of devotion and the committing of the self to that God, that light, that divine presence. And I think it's our, it's our human idea. Like, we need the idea of devotion, and until we collapse the idea of the object and the subject. But it's our way of, like you said, just offering ourselves to the isness, is just that great pluming of, we could see it pluming like this, but it's almost like also the self-recursive spiral of that presence is delivering itself through us the more that we offer. It's almost kind of like the two aspects of the torus,
Yeah,
that are
exactly.
imploding and exploding
At the same time.
in conjunction.
The in-breath and out-breath of God.
The in-breath and the out-breath of God.
So,
Yeah.
Amoraea, tell me, is your encounter with the face of God, with the eye of God, how does that, which shape has that taken? What evokes, what happens for you at that innermost, you see, there are so many junctions and so many states of consciousness that evolve, but that is certainly one most profound one, and I would love to hear your description of it.
You're asking my description of when I go into those highest states of union with
the divine. When the divine encounters you at that junction point.
Mm. Well, it's an ineffable experience, and the level of light and the quality of how light is omnidirectional. It's kind of part of what you're saying about the all-seeing eye. It actually moves equally into everything, into the fabric of creation. And so when we move into the singularity of it, we're then pushed out into more and more vaster or subtler realms of existence, of consciousness. And so the increase in our bandwidth, according to our level of offering ourselves back into the isness, creates us to sense, and that's why we have senses at the higher dimensions, just like we have 5 senses. We have higher and higher sensory organs so that we can actually experience the dimensional splendor of creator, of creation. And when we place ourselves into the center of that, we really do have a true experience of being the creator and of being in the bliss, power, light, wisdom, effulgence, and all the virtues. Like, they become very real. They're not concepts anymore. They become
the experience.
They become the experience. And so with all of the blinding sensory aspects of vision, of the light, of the heart exploding into that, and really it's like all the chakras really collapse into an omni chakra. It's not like it's just happening at the crown, or it's not just happening at the heart. We become an all-seeing chakra, all experiencing beingness. And so from that space, there's a real sense of being at the lip of creation and moving out as it, instead of us just saying, well, I'm one with it. It's like we become the function and of the governing body. And we know ourselves as not separate from it. So.
Right. We experience the source of oneness.
Yeah. And then we bless creation from it. That's always what happens.
Right.
Like you're saying, the idea of the bodhisattva, the idea of the more that you become the light, the more that you are here to teach it, emanate it, bless it into the fields. As soon as you have more capacity, you want to distribute it more into the field. It's just what it means to be a channel of it. So that's where we get this huge evolutionary advance, because we offer into it, and then we bless creation from that space.
The very core of itself.